What's going on, everybody? Happy Monday. Welcome into the Mayo Media Network. I am Chris Meaney, and you are watching Fantasy Hockey Picks and Bets presented by Prize Picks. Thanks for taking the time to hang out. Please like, rate, review, subscribe to this show on your favorite listening platform. Maybe you're watching here on the Mayo Media Network. Leave a comment in the YouTube section. Maybe it's a season-long question. I have rest of the season fantasy hockey rankings and waiver wire rankings for week 7. It is already week 7 of the fantasy hockey season. If you're playing season long, well, you're halfway done until fantasy hockey playoff time for head to head. So it is crunch time. It's time to start cutting the dead weight on your team. Maybe it's Taylor Hall. Maybe you have Taylor Hall on your fantasy hockey team and you're wondering if you should hold on to this guy, what you should do. Leave a question there and we will circle back. But it is time for the Prize Picks play of the day. Check out the link in the description for the discount and check out prizepicks.com. Several different player props to choose from across all the sports you love. 7 games on the ice. Eric Young is hanging by. We're going to talk about all of them, but a few prize picks that I like for tonight. Let's start with Nathan McKinnon. He's at 4. It's too low. I think last week I said he should be right there with Austin Matthews and Connor McDavid in terms of just an over-under prop number for this guy. He should be around 5, in my opinion. He's got a date with the San Jose Sharks. Have you guys watched the Sharks play hockey this season? They cannot keep the puck out of their net. 5-on-5 numbers per 60 minutes. According to Natural Stat Trick, they've allowed the 9th most shot attempts, the 7th most shots, 31 per 60 minutes, the 2nd most goals per 60 minutes at 5-on-5, 3.2, the 6th most scoring chances, and the 7th most high danger chances. Nate McKinnon has played the Sharks twice this season. He has 6 shots in each of those games, so 12 shots and 2 points. So he sailed over this number. I like him tonight. I think he's going to find the score sheet. He's going to put 3 or 4 pucks on net. We're going to get there, I think. There's a few that I like. I mean, Kyle Connor, 3.5 against Vancouver. Jonathan Huberdeau is a guy I always talk about. I had to ease off of him a little bit, but he's back up in the top line with Barkov. He's 3 tonight against Carolina. Andrei Svechnikov in the same game, 3.1. Matthew Tkachuk, 3.1 against Ottawa. But let's go with his brother, Brady Tkachuk. I really wanted to talk about Brady Tkachuk. 3.6 against Calgary. This guy is just an absolute fantasy stud. He's a top 5 fantasy hockey player, but for Prize Picks here, 3.6, I think he's going to get there. He's got 5 goals in his past 6 games, 31 shots over that span. So it's a nice solid floor of about 2.5 fantasy points using Prize Picks scoring system. But his 5-on-5 numbers, a league high 72 shots. The next closest guy is Patrick Kane at 62. A league high 38 high danger chances. Next closest guy is Connor McDavid. He's 4th in rush attempt shots. He's 7th in rebounds created. He's 1st in penalties drawn at 5-on-5, 15, McDavid 2nd. And he's got the highest expected goal rate in the NHL at 5-on-5. He is all over the net. He's not afraid to throw his body around. He just gets in front of the net, creates rebounds, deflection shots, and both games against the Flames have gone over the number. So we could see some goals here. So Brady Tkachuk over and Nathan McKinnon over. Check out prizepicks.com. All right, let's bring in EY, Eric Young. Happy Monday, buddy. What's going on?
Monday, man. Yeah, the hockey's been insane. No one knows what's going on, including me, apparently including you too. Dude, it's just a wild season, but it's so fun. And I may or may not have ordered a Kirill Kaprizov Minnesota jersey.
Oh my goodness.
May or may not have done that.
Is it the retro, like the one that looks like the old Minnesota North Stars? Because that would be super sexy.
If I was to do that,
it would be.
I'm not saying I did. That would be the one that I would order.
Dude, you better come on here with a jersey in the next couple of weeks. Kaprizov, man, the guy's a stud. Absolutely. You and I have been talking about him, I think, since day one, maybe. And now just lately with, not saying he wasn't playing with anybody good. He was. But Matt Zuccarello is just a nice guy to play with, right? I mean, he's a bit of a pass first guy. He hits the score sheet quite often. He does the little things. He's got that long reach for a little guy. You watch him play, he picks off passes. He's good in our Fantrax league with
it. Looks like he stole someone else's stick, like he broke it, right? And then he went by the bench and like a guy that's 10 times taller than him passed him his stick and he's playing with that one.
I know. Zuccarello's been a big hit on this show for I think a week now. The past few episodes he's been a hot waiver wire pickup, one of the most added players. He's still only hanging around I think his ownership is maybe 40% in Yahoo ESPN leagues. But yeah, the
Gotta be higher.
Fantrax league that you and I play in, I know he's making a little bit of coin. We play in a salary cap league. I think he's like 6+, but I mean, if you can afford him, he's been a point per game guy since he's been back into the lineup, and a thief, man. Stealing pucks, those takeaways are huge, as you know. Waiver Wire, what are you doing this morning? I know you like to use your ads up on a Monday.
Yeah, so I'm keeping your eye out for some players. I think a guy that possibly could have been dropped in the last week or two is Timo Meier. I mean, if you are playing in a shots and a hits, like even when he's not scoring or getting assists, I mean, he shoots the puck a ton and he throws his body around, so he's valuable there. Guys like that, like I can't stress enough, you have to pay attention to the other categories. And a guy like him is valuable even when he's not scoring. Like, of course, you want him scoring too. He's playing top line. He's playing top power play. But he's starting to put it together a little bit. It looks like you said, San Jose is rotten, but someone's got to score. Brett Pesce, a guy in defense for the Carolina Hurricanes, is a pretty interesting player right now, kind of touching all kinds of categories, playing on the second line, the second power play. He would definitely be available for your defense. When I play season-long defenseman, it's a good way to pile up in the other categories and blocks and hits and not worry too much about scoring. Obviously, scoring is important, but you need guys touching other categories. He's a guy that's kind of doing everything right now, and would likely be available. That's a guy that I really like. And in goal, Jack Campbell is a guy to think about. I don't know what's going on with Anderson. I haven't heard anything about his status for this week or what's going to happen. Jack Campbell's going to play and he's going to start, and they're going to ride him until Anderson is ready. I think they should. So that's a good guy to get some wins, look really good in the last game. So those would be my 3 ads this week.
Yeah, I like it. I wrote up Campbell over at ftnfantasy.com as well. I don't think that Anderson is quite ready to return to the lineup tonight, so I think we'll see Campbell. He's fresh off that 30-save shutout, I believe, on the weekend against the Oilers. And, with the Leafs starting to run away with the North Division, right? I mean, they don't really need to have Anderson playing every single game. I know he had a heavy workload early on, but now that Campbell is healthy, there's no reason, in my opinion, for them to just go Anderson 3-4 times a week.
It'd be a bigger split for sure. Well,
yeah.
Another guy in goal I wanted to talk about coming off the IR is Stalock in Minnesota. Unbelievable, super underrated defense core. Kakkonen has been unbelievable, but I think Stalock, how he played before he got hurt last year for Minnesota. Look, Minnesota is on fire right now. I can't stop watching these guys play. I put $20 on them to win the Stanley Cup at the start of the year, and right after I did it, I felt like a complete idiot, but I don't feel so dumb anymore. I believe that they could win. I believe they could win. Like, if you really look at them, Kaprizov is a huge difference for them up front. I've always liked their defense core. They've got a bunch of sneaky, really good passing and skating defensemen. Suter's still playing over 20 minutes a game, getting it done all over the ice. And their goaltending is unbelievable. We've seen that so far this year. And getting Stalock back, Stalock could be the starter. He was unbelievable before he got hurt last year.
He was, and I like Cam Talbot, though, too. Like, they had a lot of different pieces. Talbot returned to the lineup the other night, and he picked up a W. His numbers overall pretty good. He was a sleeper for me. But, they have a lot of options. And you're right about their defense. They're stingy, man. They don't give up a whole lot, and now they're starting to score some goals here and there. So
those are the goaltenders that you want.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Good team defense. I mean, they're not giving up a ton of shots. They're going to get scored on like every goalie. But the reality is Minnesota's number one priority, and you could watch when they play, is to keep the puck out of their net. And similar to the Islanders, having those kind of goalies on your fantasy teams, like, it's percentage-wise to me, it's your best bet.
So it's week 7 in season long. We'll get to some picks and DFS here in just a minute, but I just wanted to roll through a couple of things. Use a promo code Meaney if you're looking for the rest of the season rankings or just waiver wire stuff in there in general. There's a few guys just off the top. This is not breaking any news here, but owned in fewer than 60% of leagues, like Farabee, Fiala, Zuccarello, William Karlsson, Nazem Kadri, Nino Niederreiter, Dustin Brown, Jordan Kyrou, John Gabriel Pajot. These are all guys that I feel like should be owned. And then deeper down, you have Pavel Zacha, who's on a hell of a run, dating back to last season. I think he's got 27 points his last 36 games. and Nico Heischer's in and out of the lineup, out again. So Zach is just getting a lot of ice time. Joe Thornton, right? We've talked about Thornton quite a bit. Carter Verhaeghe still on that top line. I mentioned Huberdeau back on that top line with Barkov and Verhaeghe. I think you'd be a little bit patient with Verhaeghe, the ins and the outs. Andrew Mangiapane is a guy we've talked about quite a bit on this show. Alex Tuck we'll get into, but he was bumped up on the top line. Vegas shuffled all their lines around. I think Tuck is the biggest beneficiary from that. He's playing with Mark Stone. And then Phil Kessel's an underrated guy. Brett Pesce on defense. PK Subban's, trending up a bit. Radko Gudas is under owned in a hits league. You got to have him. He's got 100 hits. Shane Gostisbehere showed up a couple times. I don't know if it's the Gostisbehere of old, but I wanted to bring him up. He didn't do anything yesterday, but he had back-to-back games with 6 shots and a goal. He's starting to get a ton of ice time. Before he was, in Alan Vigneault's doghouse, he was only getting anywhere from 15, 17 minutes, sometimes not playing in the third period at all, but he looks like a guy playing with confidence, and the offense is starting to come back. We already know what his ceiling is like. So there's a lot. Deep league ads, Lars Eller, Frank Vatrano was placed on the second line with Hornquist and Venberg. So there's a lot of options. And with 22 teams playing 4 games, you better have several 4 gamers this week. You can't be messing around with teams playing 2 games or even 3 for this matter. If this late in the season, as I said, halfway through, it's time to start cutting dead weight. Like, I don't know. I don't have Taylor Hall. I don't know, Eric, how long I would hold on to a guy like Taylor Hall, knowing
we talked about this last Monday. I had him in 2 leagues and he's gone.
And he has to be now, right? What did I say?
I don't feel bad.
Wait the week. Sabres had 5 games. Wait the week. They're not scoring any goals. They're dead last in goals, 5-on-5 per 60 minutes. They're not generating any offense. So if you're outside looking in on a playoff spot, you just have to do it. You have to cut them, and you have to just, pick up streamers or pick up guys that are playing on the odd days. Pick up just Tuesdays and Thursdays are always jam-packed, and Saturdays you have to make the tough calls. Guys are just not going to get into your starting lineup on a Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Drop them. Drop them for a guy playing on a Wednesday, Friday.
This is how you win. Starting Taylor Hall every night and him not producing is hurting your fantasy team. Dropping him and being able to add guys when they play and then not feel bad about dropping him the next night to have somebody else play. That's how you win. Look at it as you're not dropping Taylor Hall. You're adding a spot for a rotational player that you can start when a guy's got 3 or 4 games that week, and then drop him the weekend and pick up a new guy. I mean, it's important to always kind of be rotating guys. Just because Taylor Hall is Taylor Hall. Look, he's not Taylor Hall right now. He is unmotivated and a player that I don't want anywhere near any of my teams. He's doing nothing.
Tim Stützle and Drake Batherson on that list, as well as we head over to Ottawa and Calgary tonight. The Sens are home dogs, plus 143. They're 12-11 against the spread. They are 7-15-1. The total here is 6. The Flames minus 167, 10-12 against the spread. So both of these games went over early. It was last week. It was 6-1 for Ottawa, and then it was 6-3 for Calgary. They bounced back. Drake Batherson has a goal in 5 straight games, 6 of 7. Stützle has a point in 3 straight games, and he has 5 points over his past 5 games, 12 on the season, shooting the puck a ton, 5-3, 6, 4, 4 over his past 4 games. I would consider him. There's lots of games here. There's 7, so I don't really need to stress the props. I'll circle back and give my favorite ones at the end, but you guys know I like shot props, so I'll throw one out probably every single game, but Stützle would be the guy for me. Brady Tkachuk 3.5 is not bad. Just mentioned off the top of the show how much he's shooting the puck, but I can get Stützle at 2.5. I like that. That line with Drake Batherson and Chris Tierney is pretty good, right? They're scoring. They're hitting the score sheet. They're doing a lot of great things on the ice. The Sens are competitive. We know this. We've talked about that quite often. What do you think in this game? Calgary again, the over again? I don't think we'll see Jacob Markstrom. The Sens first of a back-to-back. I don't know. Maybe they go with Murray, but it's potential that they don't. And if they don't, it's bad news.
Yeah, I think I said this the very first show we did. I had Calgary out of the playoffs. I just don't trust them at all.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
I don't know if I trust Ottawa more, but I think I do because of the personnel. Stützle, every time you see this guy on the ice, he just jumps off the screen. Like it was a couple games ago, he came flying down the left wing, put on the Jets, got around the defenseman and just uncorked a shot and put it in. Like there's literally 15 guys in the NHL that can do that. I mean, that doesn't happen. I mean, like a guy that can just come down the wing on a rush on his own and shoot the puck and it goes in and he's a child. He's only going to get better each and every game. So I'm going to lean Ottawa on this one, man. I just do not trust Calgary. I haven't all year, and they haven't done anything to change my mind.
What do you think, Matt? Is this a puck line pick for you with the Sens or a total? I think we'll see some goals again.
This one I think I'm gonna lean towards the total. I like the total at 6 right now, and I'll go the over. If it hits 6.5, I won't take it because I love that security. Other than that, I'm not gonna money line it or puck line it. This is a game that I just like watching the Sens this year. Every time I watch the Sens, I think of EY and his bet, and they've been making them look pretty good lately. So they're a fun team to watch. The pesky Sens. I've said it on a different show before. They're gonna be a hell of a team in a couple years.
Yeah, they really are. There's a couple guys like Brandstrom. He's been all over our FTN Discord chat and in the value articles that I write every single day. We'll get to the DK in a little bit, but he's not getting a ton of ice time. He was when Shabbat was out of the lineup, but he's still on that second power play unit. He loves to shoot the puck. He's got a couple goals recently too. So even though he's only getting the 15, 17 minutes, he's not blocking a ton of shots. He's got some offensive upside to him. Remember, he was thrown in that mark. He was actually a big part of that Mark Stone deal, which does seem a little awful for the Sens at this point, but they are going to be good. They got a lot of nice pieces. I think my favorite shot prop would be Matthew Tkachuk, but not at DraftKings. They're really catching on here. I actually hadn't seen Matthew Tkachuk on DraftKings Sportsbook. I don't think all year. Maybe just recently he's shown up. I don't know, Matty, but he's 2.5 minus 195. That's too much, but you can get this guy in other spots, guaranteed. Use the free prop shop over at ftnbets.com. You can find the best possible odds, but you can get Matthew Tkachuk maybe in around minus 150. I'd go as high as minus 165. This guy's putting 3 pucks on net every single time. It's been fun to watch the Tkachuks go to get like toe to toe. Brady would try to lay out Matthew in the second game with like a couple minutes left. Matthew dodged it. Brady ran right into the glass, and then they had a chuckle over it. And I'm still laughing about it because I thought it was great. But Stützle and Tkachuk, those are the shot prop guys for me. I think we'll see some goals. I like the over there as well. I'd take a shot on any of the Bradys or maybe Drake Batherson or Stützle as first goals. I think we'll see some goals in this game too. Florida and Carolina, Eric. These two teams have played each other twice this year. It's gone over the number. Both games went to overtime. We have Florida home dogs here, plus 102, 9-11 against the spread, 13-4-3 on the year. Carolina, 13-6-1 on the year, 8-12 against the spread, minus 118. Are you with me? Do you think we're going to see some goals? Are the Panthers legit? They look legit.
Yeah, they look legit, man. And these are two teams that I love to watch. And when they play each other, it's really fun hockey, and it's fun because they're scoring. The guys that are not main name brand. I mean, Huberdeau he's a top 5 left winger in the league, and like nobody.
No,
I mean, it's just the curse of playing in Florida, and them not being good. Since from before I can even remember. It's crazy how long they've been not a competitive team. This team looks good though. The goaltending on both teams is up and down, so I like the over there. But yeah, it's a super fun game to watch. This is a good game for DFS as well. Getting these guys because they're going to score. I believe that 100% in this game.
Yeah, I think we'll see some goals too. So I am going to, I don't know. It is tough. Like, again, I'll circle back, but if I'm going to pick anything from this side, it would be 6.5. I'd lean with Carolina. I think they're slightly better, but I do think the Florida Panthers, they look legit, man. And they're not giving up a ton. I know we always pick on Bobrovsky. He's been a little bit better lately, but the 5-on-5 numbers, they're just not giving up. I mean, 1.84 expected goals against per 60 minutes is the second best mark in the league. Montreal 1, Colorado 3. Your Preds are in their top 5, but that is just expected goals, right? But overall goals against, I mean, this is a team that they're really not giving up a whole lot. They're in the top 10 in goals against, and Carolina too. So they would make you think that this would be an under, that you wouldn't see a whole lot of offense. But I watched the game the other night. I saw the first meeting and it looked that way. There was slow starts, but then there was just a ton of goals in the second half of the game. I don't know if it opened up a bit, but Carolina I still like that second line quite a bit with Trocheck and Natchez and, Niederreiter, and then Aho and Svechnikov up top. And then you got Jordan Staal. So I think, you got 5 to 6 solid lines that can score. Hornquist is minus 155, 2.5 shots. I like that one. I'm going to stay away from Svechnikov. I'm actually, I think he's on my no shot list for now. I know he's been hit or miss, but I'd rather take Trocheck plus money, Anito Niederreiter plus money, get in on Dougie Hamilton plus money. That's 3.5, but I think my favorite one overall from this game would be Hornquist. Matty, goals?
For this game, I'm looking around. I love going back to Nino now, especially if they're going to give me 10-1 on Nino. The guy's putting the puck in the back of the net. And like you said, I'm off the Svechnikov wagon for right now for shots. Yeah. But I don't mind Svech over on Prize Picks. I think it's a sneaky play that you can get in on. But yeah, I think my favorite play out of all this is Hornquist over 2.5 shots, because this guy can get the 2.5 shots done just by parking his butt in front of the net and banging away twice. And Hornquist is not afraid of the front of the net. So Hornquist is a guy that I like here. But like you said, Trocheck at plus money is very tempting.
Yeah, I'm into him at plus money. I like that actually quite a bit. I'm looking at his first goal here, and he's 13-1. Hornquist is 14-1. Niederreiter 14-1. Carter Verhaeghe is still interesting to me because he's getting time on that top line. I mean, Huberdeau and Barkov are just they're so good together. And then you just put in Verhaeghe in there at 15-1 or anytime goal plus 255. So I think we'll see some goals in this contest. Let's go over to Vegas and Minnesota. You're Wild. Labeled your Minnesota Wild. I better see a Wild jersey in here. I love those North Stars jerseys, man. They're freaking awesome. They look so cool. Somebody tweeted at me and the Griff Dog DFS. It was I think a Dumba overtime goal, and they wore those retro jerseys, but the Kings were wearing those too. And I didn't notice at first. And I said, man, those jerseys are awesome. And then I think it was a Kings fan said, well, what ones do you like more? I like them both. I like that Kings one too with the purple, but I like that North Star. Minnesota's won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 straight hockey games, Eric. 6 straight games. So the teams that they played in there are a little suspect, although the Kings were on a heck of a run before they ran into the Wild. And Minnesota went into Colorado and took care of them pretty easily, 6-2. Now they have Vegas here. I already jumped on Vegas. I know Minnesota's super hot, but anytime that I can get the Golden Knights at minus 139, I'm going to take them. They're always around minus 200. I got to think about them in parlays. I got to think about them on the puck line. Minus 139, I'm just taking them. Minnesota plus 120, 9-9 against the spread, 8-9 against the spread for Vegas. Vegas 12-4-1 and Minnesota 12-6-0. So this is going to be a really good game. 5.5 the total. I kind of lean under a little bit the way that Vegas plays. They don't give up a whole lot. We'd already talked about Minnesota not giving up a whole lot. You on your Wild tonight?
It makes it tough because I love Vegas too. Love them this year in that division too. But I think it's because, one, we thought everyone was going to beat up on Anaheim, which looks like that's kind of happening. Looks like everyone's going to beat up on San Jose. We thought that about LA as well, and probably Minnesota. And that doesn't seem to be the case. I mean, this is it's a really interesting division when you look at it now. Like LA is tough, which I don't think anyone would have guessed that. Certainly not me. I think I'm looking right now and it's saying Vegas negative 150. And I think I like that. I mean, like I like Minnesota, but I'm not betting against the Golden Knights with those kind of odds. I think I'm going to do that right now, actually.
Nice. On the fly. Yeah. I again, loving what Vegas or what Minnesota's doing here, but we're not breaking any news here. We like this Vegas team quite a bit, and Marc-Andre Fleury is, I don't know, he's right there in the Vezina conversation, isn't he? He's been unbelievable. And I like this mix up too. Like Vegas went 2 games in a row where they lost to Colorado and they didn't generate a whole lot of offense, and they're not scoring a ton. Like actually you look at just their last few games, the under has hit in 7 straight games for Vegas. I think the under is the play here, considering how strong the goaltending is for them. And at the same side, how stingy Minnesota is and how strong their goaltending has looked. But I really like what Vegas did with their lines. They mixed them all up. Like William Karlsson was quiet, and now he's got 3 multi-point games in his past 4. They took him away from Marchessault and Riley Smith, and they got Pacioretty with Riley Smith, and then Cody Glass is centering that line. So now all of a sudden they got 3 lines, right? With Alex Tuck was on that 3rd line and they wasn't really generating a whole lot of offense, and they put him up front with Stevenson and Mark Stone. And now I think that they have 3 lines. I think it hurts Pacioretty slightly because Riley Smith is the guy that's really struggling on that team. Like, I don't know what's going on with him, and Marchessault is not hitting the score sheet, but William Karlsson has woke up a little bit. So I don't think there's going to be a lot of goals. I think this is an actual fade in DFS. I think people will look at Minnesota and how hot they've been. And you mentioned Kaprizov and Zuccarello's been great. And then you got all the star power that Vegas has. I think it's a bit of a fade in DFS, but I'm into Vegas. Matt, are we crazy here? Should we ride out Minnesota? I feel like if Cam was here, he'd be telling us to ride the Wild.
That is legitimately what I was just thinking, is what would Cam say? I love how Minnesota's playing. I love that second
It's a crazy
line.
way to go through life.
I know. I mean, it's 10:08. I don't have a Coke in front of me yet. That man loves his Coca-Cola before noon. It doesn't surprise me anymore.
He drinks caffeine?
Oh, yeah, I couldn't tell. But for the Wild and Golden Knights, if you're going to give me the Golden Knights at this price, I'm going to take it. It almost doesn't matter who they're up against. If you're going to give me a team of this caliber at that price, I'm going to take a stab at it. And like you said, the over-under, it feels kind of trappy to me, so I'll stay away there. And I'll just go back to the well with Pacioretty for my shot prop on this game. But yeah, give me the Golden Knights, but the Wild, I wouldn't even touch the puck line for the Golden Knights. I might play with it with the Wild, though.
Yeah, I like it. I'm not into any shot props from this game. Fiala minus 182, 2.5. It's okay. Maybe you can put that into parlays. I don't see Matt Zuccarello here. I'd maybe take the guy. But yeah, I guess if there's one that you're going to take, it's going to be Patches. He shoots the puck a lot. Let's move over to... Let's do Vancouver, Winnipeg. Vancouver, Winnipeg, we have the Jets minus 132, Vancouver plus 115, 10-14 against the spread. The Jets 17-3 against the spread. I had them the other night after the coaching fire of the Canadians plus 1, and then I just took them straight up the next night. And they probably should have lost, honestly. They got outshot. Like the shot attempts 5-5 were 80-33, and they hardly touched the puck in the third period. Connor Hellebuck played really good, but now they get a Canucks team that has lost 11 of 13 games, Eric. I know, like, back to Cam, we talked about Vancouver maybe being a bit unlucky, and maybe there's some games that they should win, but do we have a large enough sample size now to know that this team is fragile? They're brutal. They can't keep the puck out of their net. They got a lot of guys up front that can score. They got a lot of great players. But after that, their bottom six is not contributing enough. They're not doing enough, and they're hemmed in their own zone. I rattled off all the numbers at the top of the show with the Sharks 5-5. Vancouver is right there with them, and legitimately worse. Probably because they play in a bit of a tougher division. I do feel like the North Division is actually pretty good. In terms of firepower, offensive firepower, the Canucks are playing some teams that have a lot of firepower, where the Sharks maybe, they get the Kings here and there in Arizona and Anaheim, but Vancouver's just, I can't get behind them. I like Winnipeg. I'm in on them. I'd like the Dubois trade. He's now found a home on that top line. He looks really good with Scheifele and Wheeler. Like the second line with Connor and Ehlers and Stastny. You put Kopp on the third line, and Jets look good to me. I'm not going to overthink this. Winnipeg minus 132. Locking it in, Eric.
I just did the same, buddy. I just did the same. Vancouver is a mess. Ottawa's going to pass them.
I know. They are. Yeah. Okay. You like the total 6.5? A little high? I think it's a little high.
That seems a little high to me. I'm just going with Winnipeg
just with Winnipeg. Where do you think what line would you attack? I mean, we'll revisit DFS in a little bit, but Ehlers and Connor, even though they're playing together, and I don't like to say locks and give out locks, but my goodness, they seem to be the first two I put in the shot tracker over at ftmbets.com every single time. Like Ehlers, both of these guys are averaging over 3 shots per game. What line would you attack? I mean, because Scheifele is basically a point per game on the year.
I think that one. I mean, for right now, watching the games, like Kyle Connor, it just jumps off the screen, man. The guy can skate. He is just dogs the puck. Shoots the puck a ton. He's doing stuff like his skating right now. He seems on another level. Like, I think I've always liked him as a player, but right now he just seems in a different place mentally for who he is as a player, and his skating is unbelievable.
Yeah, and I undersold Scheifele. He's got 28 points in 20 games. Obviously a point per game guy, but Ehlers has at least 3 shots in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's got 70 on the year. It's just, again, I've said this before, so I don't want to oversay this, But Connor's the trigger man on the first power play unit, and Ehlers is the trigger man on the second power play unit. And you would think because they play together, they may not both get there with the shots, but because of Vancouver taking more penalties than anybody in the league, they're getting the power plays. And again, they can both get there being on second units, and they are the trigger man. Like, I don't know how many times I've said it, but watching the Jets play this year, it's the same role. It's let's get the puck to Connor. He seems to be open in the bottom of the circle. Ehlers does the same thing as Matthews, maybe not as efficient, but he comes in on the back of the blue line and he gets the timing pass over from Pionk and he rifles it. He's got the lane there. I've seen it several times. It's a big reason why he's got 11 goals. So it's hard for me to back this Canucks team right now. I'm just not going to overthink it. I'm going to go with the Jets. And I think you can get involved with a lot of these guys for anytime goals. Ehlers, Connor, Scheifele, maybe 2 points, could be pushing it. But those guys with the shot props, power play points, all that good stuff, I think we'll see a lot of offense. Maybe over Jets 3.5 goals. I think they probably score 4. This next game is a little tough for me. I'm normally I would just come in here and I think I would pick the Blues over the Ducks -152, Anaheim +130. I don't really have a lot of respect for this Anaheim team. I like John Gibson in net. I've been scoring a few goals lately. They hung around with Vegas the other night. I think they pushed them to overtime, and then they had the 3-goal leads against Arizona, and that they blew both of those games. Arizona came back and won. But this Blues team is weird, man. They just I don't know what's going on with them. Maybe they're still adjusting with life without Petrangelo. They can score goals, but they're also giving up a ton as well. I feel like St. Louis is the play here. I could never put money on the Ducks. It's either I bet on St. Louis or I just stay away from them. That game against the Sharks, I don't know if you watched that. It was highly entertaining. There were like, I think 6 goals in the third period on 11 shots combined for both teams. What do
I
you
didn't
think?
watch it. I'll say that Anaheim looks different. They bring Zegras up.
Zegras?
I mean,
Yeah.
having a young player like that like look at, and he's just obviously excited to play in the NHL. And I think having youth like that and a guy that we saw him in World Junior this year was a difference maker, and looks like he's going to be a different maker for the Ducks. I don't think he's some crazy superstar player, but having a young energy like that can motivate a team, and he doesn't know that Anaheim's bad. I mean, like that. I don't know how else to say it, but he's excited he's playing in the NHL, and it shows that the team looks different. I'm not putting money on them to win, but if you're a person that likes a bit of a long shot, like I don't trust St. Louis at all right now, and that could be a way to a sneaky bet. I think to Anaheim to win tonight.
Matt, what do you think, man? Are we overthinking this with the Shark or with the Blues?
I just want to watch this game, to be completely honest, and that's not me shying away. But since Zegras got called up, I've been a big Zegras guy since he's played in junior, and that shootout goal sold it that he belongs in the NHL. That was just pure filth. I don't really like the Ducks at +1.5, and I think that's the only thing I'd go after here. The Blues, I mean, it's not a case where, hey, if you give me this team at this low of a number, I'll go and take them. They're just not at that caliber of the Golden Knights, because right now, with updated odds, Golden Knights to win and Blues to win are the exact same. So I'm just not going to go after that. I'll just sit back and relax. I'll maybe take a shot prop. I might take Mike Hoffman anytime goal scorer, because I think it's about time he gets back on his horse. He's looked good in the last few games too, so it's not that he's not producing, it's just he's getting a lot of bad bounces. But other than that, this might be a stay away game for me.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I got St. Louis written down here, but they're not going to be in my my big parlays. I may take them somewhere else, but let's move on to Colorado. And there's not a lot to say here. I'm not in on the Sharks. I'm not picking the Sharks. I probably won't pick Colorado either on the money line. It's juiced up. I mean, -190. It could be, by the time you're watching, could be up to 210, something like that. 6-12 against the spread for Colorado is interesting. 10-8 against the spread. San Jose 7-9-2 on the year. Colorado 11-6-1. We said on Friday Colorado was just gonna, after that 4-game set against Vegas, that it would be go time for the Avs, and they took 2 games against Arizona. I think you could take them on the puck line -1.5. This Sharks team is just brutal defensively. In goal, they're missing Hurdle. I know you mentioned Meyer, but they're still not getting a ton from him. They're basically a one-line team right now, and they just have a lot of inexperienced players, especially in their bottom 6. So it's not for me. Rantanen 2.5 is a guy I always go to. He got it the other night. minus 152.5. I like that one quite a bit. It's just they're allowing so much, right? 5-on-5, and if they get into penalty trouble, it's going to be bad news for them. Even like McKinnon here, 3.5 minus 167. He put 7 shots on goal in his last game. So I think, that top line with Landeskog going to be pretty good. And I think DFS, when we get into it, Burakovsky's got points in 2 straight. Nazem Kadri, you're going to want to think outside the box because everyone playing DFS is definitely going to look at that first line. But I think you want to try to get involved with some secondary pieces. Maybe it's Taves in the second power play unit. If Cale Makar doesn't play, I think Taves is a guy you definitely want to lock in. He's going to be on that first power play unit, and then Gerard and Bowen Byram on that second unit. But I think you need to get a little creative. I think we could see some goals from the Colorado side of things. Anything I'd leave out here, or maybe you're on the Sharks, Eric? Shark Tank?
I am not on the Sharks.
Yeah.
For sure, the Sharks are one of my weird, embarrassing bets to make the Stanley Cup final at the start of the year. I thought a healthy Carlson.
What is with you and the long shots at the Stanley Cup final?
To me, okay, this is how I looked at it. Is I'm normally not even much of a gambler when it comes to like long projections like that. Nobody really knows. But I feel this year, like looking at the odds before the start of the year, no one really knew what was going to happen. Like we didn't know. The shortened training camp, the training camp starts at a different time of year. Like these guys have normally played 30 or 40 games by now. So their rhythm is off, no practice time, COVID, no fans. For me, taking huge underdogs, this was the year to do it because anything could happen. That's why I bet on Ottawa. That's why I bet on Minnesota. That's why I bet on San Jose. I think one of those is a really good bet in the Minnesota one right now. There's not a single part of me that doesn't think that Minnesota could win the Stanley Cup this year.
Yeah, I don't hate that pick. No, I don't hate it at all. I'm not a fan of the Sharks one. But I agree with you, though. Heading into the year, I thought that the Sharks would compete, and they're still competing a bit. Carlson has been underwhelming, in my opinion. But there's still, last year they were without Meyer for a bit and Couture, or they were without Hurdle for a bit and Couture, and then Meyer didn't. He didn't look himself. So there's still some pieces there, and Kane was in and out of the lineup too. So they can compete. It's just defensively, I don't. And Erik Karlsson may be one of those guys too. I don't know how long you can hang on to him, right?
Yeah.
Let's just stream the defense position. If you're playing in hits and blocks, you can get a guy like Pesce, for example, who's just doing more for you. It's crazy to even think about that. I would compare the two in fantasy.
It's a crazy sentence.
I know, it's ridiculous. I can't believe I said it.
Get Brett Pesce. He's doing more than Erik Karlsson.
Feels sick. But Carlson's not doing anything.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
He's not doing anything. A buddy asked me 3 weeks ago when he went on IR, do I just drop him? It's like, yeah you probably do. You
and a new injury, like everyone's like, oh, it's not the same injury. How? I don't know. As a person that's kind of an athlete, having another injury, that doesn't make things better. Now you're susceptible in two different situations. So for me, I'm not saying he's droppable, but I'm thinking if I had him anywhere, I'd probably drop him.
Yeah, I think he's droppable. All right, final game here. We have Edmonton and Toronto. The Oilers minus 109, 11-12 against the spread, 14-9 on the year. This total 6.5. The Leafs minus 107, 9-13. Banged up a bit, but still getting it done. Matthews didn't play the last game. It was no problem. William Nylander is hitting the score sheet a ton lately, especially recently. And Tavares jumped up on that top line. And when he did, I took his shot prop at 2.5, and I will take it again at 2.5 if Austin Matthews doesn't play. You guys are the Leafs guys here. Matty, any news on Matthews? Is this guy going to play? He's got a little bit of a sore wrist. He did take part in practice yesterday, but he was with the extras and quote unquote did not take any hard shots. That from Mark Masters.
No, from what I saw, he did play with the extras for a majority. He did play one shift with his usual line mates at practice and then went right back to the extras. So I wouldn't hold my breath there. You're absolutely right, though. If Tavares is there for 2.5 and he's on that top line, I'm going to be putting that in a lot of shot prop parlays tonight.
Yeah, that one might be my favorite one on the board if that's going to be the case. What do you think, Eric, about this game?
It's tough to call. I feel the Leafs are getting by without Matthews, kind of banged up. Like I said, Jack Campbell at the start of the show is a good pickup. And obviously is a step up from Hutchison. I think Leafs win this. I don't trust Anaheim or Edmonton. the defense, it's just puzzling that they still didn't do anything in the offseason. I know that they're improved and they're coming on. Look, Connor McDavid is a stallion. Drysdale is a stallion, but I mean, how the numbers are set up on DraftKings and stuff, I don't think there's a good bet either way here.
Yeah. This is probably a stay away for me too. And if Matthews doesn't play, I'm not going to like the over 6.5. And Campbell's been pretty good, and even Mike Smith has been pretty good here and there as well. He's had some decent games since he's been back, so it's probably a stay away for me. But I like the Tavares one quite a bit, and right now, I think you just jump on it right now. I think it's tough to predict if guys are going to play or not, and even if Matthews does play, it's not the end of the world for you to have a Tavares over 2.5 shots, but minus 155. I think if we get news that Matthews is not going to play in a couple hours, that's going to get up to, crazy talk. So you just get involved now. I think we'll see a pushback though from the Oilers a bit, like maybe Nugent Hopkins, or Barry. Those are some guys I usually like to get involved with rather than the 3.5. And Draisaitl is just sometimes he shoots the puck 6-7 times. Other times he just finishes with 6 assists and doesn't have any shots on goal. So he's just a weird guy to attack. Okay, DraftKings. Let's start at center. McDavid 9-2, Matthews 9. McKinnon 8-5, Drysdale 8 or Draisaitl 8-3, Scheifele 7-7, Barkov 6-9, Tavares 6-7, Couture 6-3, Schenn 6-1, and then Riley, Aho, Pettersson in around that 5-7 mark. I think McKinnon off the top is the guy that you want. Just it's the guy that I want anyways. 8-5, the Sharks. What do you think, Eric? I mean, that's where my money's going on top of the board. Him and Scheifele.
I like him too, but I think if Matthews doesn't play, Tavares at that price there. I think if you grab him now, lock that lineup in, and if Matthews plays, you can maybe pivot later in the day or have another lineup with somebody else. But I probably lean McKinnon here too. But Tavares at that price is pretty interesting, especially if Matthews doesn't play and he plays on the top line again.
Yeah, I think you just spend up at center. I think you spend the dough on McKinnon or Scheifele. I think if you're playing multiple lineups, Tavares definitely at 6-7 is a good price. I think, you get involved with this Carolina and Florida game. Trocheck 5-6. He's just a guy that I like a lot, like 13.1 DraftKings points per game. That is in the top 7. He's right there with Scheifele, Barkov. Draisaitl's at 14.7, but he's not priced like those guys. You have to scroll down the list to see Trocheck's pricing. He's outside the top 10, but yet he's inside the top 6 or 7 in fantasy points per game. I don't think it's a fluke what he's doing. He's a very good player. He's a two-way player. He's got 10 goals and 17 points. He logs roughly right around 20 minutes. Like, he's a guy that plays in all situations. He's playing penalty kill. He's taking key faceoffs, and he's on the first power play unit. So, I'd like him quite a bit, man. He's just a guy that he doesn't really disappoint too often. I think he's a guy that you can play in cash too, because even when he's not in the score sheet, if he's not getting the goals, sometimes he falls into an assist, but usually putting 3 to 5 shots on net too. So he's not giving you the zeros. And then Stastny down the line will save you a little bit of cash. He's 4-2 again against Vancouver, and he's got those 2 snipers on his line as well. I will talk just quickly about Mikael Backlund, 4-5. I like where he's slotted in the line. Last time, I believe it was with Mangiapane and Tkachuk. That's pretty good trio right now. 4-5 is a pretty good spot for him, and I think we could see some goals in that Calgary and Ottawa game. Over at the wing, 7-9, Marner up at the top, Pacioretty 7-6. Those are 2 guys that I'm actually going to fade. As much as we talked about Tavares in that top line, I'm not really into Marner. And then I think the under is probably the play in Vegas and Minnesota. So Pacioretty 7-6, not so much. Nugent Hopkins 7-4, Ehlers 7, check. Matthew Tkachuk 6-9, like him as well. Brady Tkachuk 6-8, I also like him. But I think the guys that stand out to me as we continue down the list: Rantanen, Perron, Lindholm, Connor, Wheeler. I like the Jets. I like the Jets with Ehlers and Connor, and I like Colorado with Rantanen and McKinnon. Like, those are probably my 2 favorite duo stacks on the board altogether. What do you think for wing?
Yeah, the hard to go wrong with Ehlers and Connor. That's how they're playing right now. I think that's probably would be my first choice. So yeah, they're just. I trust Winnipeg, like you're saying. I trust them right now to produce, and I like how they're playing right now. Both those guys.
Landeskog is 5-2. I normally would talk about Zuccarello, but you guys know just the matchup. Hoffman, good call by you, Maddie. I think Hoffman is a sneaky little play at 5-6. And I think it's always contrarian to play against Gibson. Everyone wants Gibson. They take the salary leaf. They know he's a good goalie. He's been shelled a couple times. I mean, his defense doesn't help him out all that often. So to have a couple players here and there in tournaments, like bigger fields, against Gibson, going against the grain, I think is an interesting play. Landeskog 5-2, he's just too cheap. I don't get it. I know he missed some time and games were postponed, but I mean 5-2 is too cheap of a price for him. William Nylander is hot. He's 4-9 on DraftKings. He's got 3 goals in his past 2 games. He's got 8 goals, 17 points in the year. He's fine. I don't understand the price. Dubois, same thing. Don't get the price. 4-7. Dubois now in 3 games on the top line has got 3 goals and 5 points, getting a ton of ice time. Going down the list, I'm looking for values. I got a couple. It's just really, I had Landeskog, Dubois, and William Nylander written down as his values. But Drake Batherson, we talked about him off the top. He's 3-9. Stützle is 3-7. So it's you can get involved with some pieces there. Joe Thornton 3-6. Vertrano is probably that sneaky little play that I don't think a lot of people will play him. It's on that second line now, 3-6. You and I have talked about him before. He's a decent fantasy guy. Even when he's not, and when he's given an opportunity in the top 6, it's people start to talk about him, but he shoots a lot and he throws his body around a lot too. But now he's getting that opportunity. Like he played 18 minutes in his last game, was by far a season high for him. He had a goal. He's got goals in back-to-back games. He has at least 3 shots in 4 straight games and at least 2 shots in 7 straight games. I know 2 shots doesn't seem like great, but he's now in the top 6 and getting an opportunity. So I think he's maybe a sneaky little play for a game that, we could see some goals. We could see the total there. Again, with Colorado on the board against San Jose, this is where I think you get a little unique with your lineups. Burakovsky's 3-5, Saad is 3-4, and Donskoy is 3-1. So that to me is how you get unique tonight with Colorado. Defense, Burns 6-8, Hamilton 6-5, Barry 6-4, Nurse kind of quietly at least 6-3, Pietrangelo 6-2, Theodore 6-1, Giordano 6. Makar is actually already ruled out. Okay, interesting. Didn't see that. So he's out for the remainder of the road trip for Colorado. So Taves, Bowen Byram, Gerard. Shabbat's 5-8, Martinez is 5-7, Krug 5-6. Morgan Riley 5-5. What are you doing and then Taves is 5-4. What are you doing at defense?
Nurse has actually been one of those players that's super sneaky, man. Like, and he's scoring. I mean, like he's getting assists. He's putting up points. He's playing a ton of minutes. He's important for Edmonton. That might be the guy I kind of look at to start with. Maybe you're doing a stack of maybe it's McDavid, Puljujarvi, and Nurse, and then you build your team around that 3. I mean, I like that. I'm not afraid of the Maple Leafs defending or their goaltending. And I look at Jack Campbell as an improvement from Hutchison, but that's not saying a whole lot. Edmonton has been hot, and that would be a really good way to start a lineup, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. A couple defensemen I'll throw at you guys. Because I like the Jets. I like Pionk, and then I like Morrissey. Pionk fits in better if you're going to go with Stastny and Ehlers, and because he's on the second power play unit. But even still, he's just a stud. He puts a lot of pucks in that. Morrissey's been quiet lately, but he still gets a ton of ice time, and he's on that first power play unit as well. He can get there with the shots and the block bonus if you want. Pesci, we mentioned, again, just valuable. Gerard. And Quinn Hughes, I always feel like Quinn Hughes is just, he's just underpriced. I know he just seems to get assists and not the goals, but for his price point, he flirts with double-digit points almost every single time he touches the ice. So that's where I would go for defense. Sometimes I'm in on Mike Riley if there's no Shabbat, but Shabbat does look like he's good to go. I know he's been in and out of the lineup recently. So my stacks really at Colorado get unique with that second line, but definitely if you're going to play some cash, I think you want to have some exposure to Rantanen and Nate McKinnon, and then maybe Taves in there. And then Winnipeg, I like Winnipeg, and I like that Carolina and Florida game quite a bit. And then if there is a fourth, it's Calgary and Ottawa. Don't shy away from the Sens. There's value there to be had with Stützle and with Drake Batherson in net. Grubauer, if you can get there, I don't like to spend up, but he's 8-4. Riddick is not for me, 8-3. Hellebuck 8-2. Don't mind it. It's okay. Fleury 8-1. I like that one. I like you're saving a little bit of cash, but still going to try to save a bit. Bennington, did you see Bennington the other night when he got pulled? He almost took him Carlson, and then he went at Dubnyk. It was super weird. He was a hothead, Jordan Bennington. He is 8K against Anaheim. I don't like that one. I think the Blues will win, but will the Ducks do enough? If he lets in 1 or 2 goals and he's just not going to return value for you, you could maybe go against the grain here with Mike Smith at 7-8. Let's see. What is Campbell's price? 7-9. You like Campbell, don't you?
Yeah, I think that's probably where I lean. I feel like that's a good bet for that price for a win. The guys love him, and I mean, look, I know it's narrative street and stuff, but when players like a goaltender, a backup goaltender like that, they just play better. I mean, that's a belief of mine. I have no numbers to back that up, but that's where I'd go tonight, Campbell.
Yeah, I think like if you're playing cash or whatever, like Grubauer, if it's tough you can get maybe a balanced lineup in there with some of the value, but Grubauer, maybe don't shy away from this Minnesota and Vegas game. We both think it's going to be underscoring. We like the defense there. We like the goalies. Fleury 8-1 is a discount. Like he's usually 8-4, 8-5, and then Kakinen 7-4, Talbot 7-4. These guys they've been fine so far this year. I know it may seem a little risky going against Vegas, but I think it's okay. I do believe Campbell is a good one as well. I suggested Matt Murray the other day, and I actually suggested him a couple times. One game he was great. He had 22 points. And the other game he had -2. So that's what you're rolling with when you go with Matt Murray. He's a tournament play only, but he'll save you a ton of cash. He's 7-1. Maddie, anything there we didn't get to in the DFS world?
No, you guys nailed it all. Every lineup I construct tonight will be just based around Nathan McKinnon and Kyle Connor. Those are the 2 guys that are just going to be staples in each lineup, and then I'll plug and play around it. I really liked your Morrissey call. I didn't think about Morrissey, but I think he's a good way to be a little different and get a piece of that Jets team.
Yeah, he's 4-2 is not a bad price for him. I know he's been quiet lately. I think people will just look at the back of the hockey card and be like, 0 points in 4 games. No thanks, not going to do it. But he does have 8 shots over that span. He's got 7 blocks in his last 3 too. So maybe a couple bonuses. It's possible. This Vancouver team is real bad, and they take a lot of penalties. That's the thing I think you got to look at when you're playing DFS. You look at power plays, look at teams that are taking penalties, and then just attack those power plays. And I think you just get a piece of that Jets power play. And if they pot a couple, we'll be loving it. All right, you got a recap from Friday. I think Friday was maybe a bounce back.
Yeah, you thought Friday was bad, but you know what? Friday was okay. 50%. You missed Boston. We talked about that before the show. You got Colorado. You got Minnesota. You missed the over-under in the Colorado game. But other than that, the games you were most confident in, you loved the mini game and you nailed that. And you were super on board with Colorado and you nailed that. Boston, it was kind of a flip-floppy kind of show.
Oof. Yeah. What was up the Bruins? They got spanked twice in a row. They bounced back yesterday. I put 2 units on them yesterday. I'm like, there's no way they're losing to the Rangers again. But it was weird. They got crushed by the Islanders and then crushed by the Rangers. Today, I like Vegas, Winnipeg. I'm going to put the Blues on there. My goodness. Vegas, Winnipeg, St. Louis, Colorado by 2. And I like the over in Calgary. So I'm not going to give a ton of picks, but those are the 5 right there. Calgary over, Calgary and Ottawa over, Vegas, Winnipeg, St. Louis, and then Colorado by 2. Honestly, if there was an upset, and it doesn't even feel like it would be one, it would be the Oilers for me, but it's a game that I'll stay away from. The shot props, Ehlers, Connor, those are my guys. I put them in all the time. Matthew Tkachuk, Rantanen, those are my 4. I love those 4. I think you can mix and match parlays 2 or go all 4 or just singles. I think they're fine as singles. Tavares as well, I like quite a bit. Stützle and then Hornquist. So those are the shot props. No unders, just overs. Eric, final words?
No, man, I feel pretty good about what we went through here. I know I brought up Alex Stalock, and look, I understand that they put him on waivers, but I'm just saying he's an interesting guy to keep an eye on. Was really good before he got hurt last year.
He was.
And we'll see what happens with Minnesota. But the season's been awesome. I still don't know what's going on, but kind of like it.
I like it too. All right. promo code Meaney, promo code Mayo, whatever you want. Check out prizepicks.com. Check out the link in the description. We got the over on Brady Tkachuk and Nate McKinnon, but there's several different options. And later on in the day, they'll have shot props over there and over-unders on goalie saves as well. So from Eric Young, myself, Chris Meaney, shout out to Matthew Best as well for getting it all done for us. Good luck on the ice. We'll catch you later. Cheers.